Hey guys, it is 12:30 in the afternoon. I'm currently working on my email inbox, but I came across a comment from yesterday's vlog entry. Yesterday I said something that might sound a little awkward, and it certainly did to one person. Let me first share with you what I said yesterday.
But here's what I can tell you. The names of the people that I just gave you, plus about 7 other people who also listen to my show on a regular basis, some of them weekly also, I can trace about 80% of all the income I've made over the last 8 years to those 10 or 11 people. You might be wondering, how is that possible? Well, let me explain. You see, by Michael and Ray and Mike and all the other people listening to my show each week and having friendships with them offline, I actually have a significant amount of influence in their lives. Listen to their podcasts. You'll hear them mention my name week after week after week. They talk about me in their blog posts. And on multiple occasions, when they're out doing public speaking, from the stage they talk about me and my story. They invite me to speak from the stage at their events, their conferences. And I get text messages from these guys all the time. It says, "Hey Cliff, I had lunch with so-and-so today, and you came up. I told them to check you out." And if these 10 people continue to stay subscribed to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and we continue to have our offline relationships, then I can tell you, my friends, that I am not doing any damage to my financial future.
Yeah, that was what I put into my vlog yesterday. Now what I want to do is I want to read to you one of the comments that was on my YouTube channel for yesterday's vlog post. Okay, so 80% of your sales stem from 10 to 11 of your business network referrals, not organic sales created by your podcasting. Kind of surprised that you divulged this level of inside privy details. At this point, I don't know why anybody should be surprised at me giving inside privy details. I mean, I'm all about transparency and authenticity. But here's the thing. If one person came to this conclusion, then there might be the possibility that other people are thinking the same thing, and I want to clear this one up. So I said that I could trace 80% or more of all the income I've received over the last 8 years to about 10 or 11 people. The person who left this comment has come to the conclusion that because I can trace that 80% of income over the last 8 years to those 10 or 11 people, that this must somehow mean that my podcasting efforts over all of these 8 years have been pretty ineffective. It's as if he's making the assumption that if 80% of my sales come from these 10 or 11 network referral sources, that only 20% of my sales over an 8-year period of time have come from organic growth of sales from my podcasting efforts. But once again, I want to offer that there is a different conclusion that you could come to based upon what I shared yesterday. I explained how all of those 10 or 11 people are consistently promoting my brand, my name, and my story. If you add up the social media followers of all of those 10 or 11 people and put them all together, we're talking about the fact that these 10 or 11 people are promoting my name and my brand consistently to well over 1 million people. These people aren't hearing my name from one of these friends of mine and then instantly paying for my $2,000 podcasting A to Z course. Instead, these people are hearing my name over and over again, and eventually they get around to searching me in iTunes and they subscribe to my podcast. And it is my podcasting efforts. It's through my podcast that these people come to know, like, and more importantly, trust me. So it's through those people that they hear about me, but it's through the podcast that they get to know me. And then once we have the initial people coming in from one of those 10 or 11 referral sources that I mentioned, the ripple effect of having them being referred to me from that initial source, it's mind-blowing. I want to give you an example, and we'll start with, let's just say, Tom Heights. Now, Tom Heights is an alumni of the UK, University of Kentucky basketball team. Very popular guy. Tom took my podcasting A to Z course in August of last year. Now, I can guarantee you that as Tom creates content, his podcasts, he's going to get other people who are interested in learning about podcasting. When people ask Tom Heights how they can start a podcast just like what he's doing, he's going to tell them, check out Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answer man. Those people are not instantly going to sign up for podcasting A to Z, but they will subscribe to my podcast. Or maybe they'll follow me on Facebook or Snapchat or check out my vlog. It will be the result of getting to know, like, and trust me through the content that I'm creating that will eventually organically lead them to sign up for my course. But here's the thing. Tom Heights is not one of the 10 or 11 people that I was referring to. You see, Tom Heights heard about me from a guy named Mike Kim. When Tom heard about me, did he instantly sign up for my course? No. He subscribed to my podcast, and after a while, then he decided to sign up. Mike Kim is responsible for a lot of people who discover my podcast and eventually sign up for my Podcasting A to Z course. But Mike Kim, he's still not one of the 10 or 11 people that I was referring to. You see, Mike Kim heard about me from Michael Hyatt. And by the way, Michael is one of the 10 or 11 people. I think you see the pattern here, but when Mike Kim heard about me from Michael Hyatt, did he instantly sign up for A to Z? Nope. He instead found my podcast, started following me online, came to know, like, and trust me, and eventually, organically decided to sign up. And Michael Hyatt, he actually heard about me from Dan Miller, who is also one of the 10 or 11 people that I was referring to. These 10 or 11 people have been referring thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people over the last 8 years. And it's through my podcasting efforts and through vlogging and Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter and social media that I have been able to establish and build deep relationships with this community where they now feel comfortable buying my products and services. While the original referral years ago, or maybe even weeks or months ago, may have come from one of those 10 or 11 network referral sources that I have, the reality is what happened since then has been all organic and largely in part as a result of my podcasting efforts. Here's what I know. Tom Heights is subscribed to and listens to my podcast still today. I may say something in my podcast that inspires or encourages him this coming week. Hypothetically, he might be so inspired that he decides to create an episode of his podcast or a video on Facebook and talk about that. As a result of that, there may, let's just say, this guy named Bob Smith, and he decides to go check out my podcast. Bob may find that he really enjoys my podcast, looks forward to it every single week, and never had thought about creating a podcast before. However, the more that he listens to my podcast, the more he discovers the value in having a podcast to take your message to the next level. And at the end of the podcast each week, Bob hears me say, my next session of Podcasting A to Z is coming up on March 14th. And eventually he says, you know what? I think I'd like to take that course. So hypothetically, let's just say Bob, after 3 months of listening to my podcast each week, decides to pay $2,000 to take my course. Did that happen organically through the podcasting content that I'm creating? You better believe it did. So when I say that I can trace 80% of all my income back to about 10 or 11 people, what I mean is this. Bob Smith, this hypothetical guy, he hears about me from Tom Heights. Tom Heights heard about me from Mike Kim. Mike Kim heard about me from Michael Hyatt. And well, I think now, hopefully, you get the picture. Just gotta say, guys, I love getting your comments and feedback. It's always encouraging to know that I'm getting people to think about things.